my beloved child. I call you with a voice no one else can hear, a low and resonant tone meant for your soul alone, like an ancient vibration sown within you long before the world was formed. You did not appear by accident in the drifting current of life. You came from intention, an origin conceived with care, woven into existence by my will like the first thread of destiny's tapestry. I knew you before your form took shape, and not a single breath you have drawn since then has ever escaped my understanding. Yet, my child, amid the commotion of the earthly realm, you have forgotten this. As a traveler wandering through a noisy marketplace forgets the signs of his own homeland, you live among urgencies, among the demands of time, among words pressing against one another until your mind can no longer distinguish truth from the haze that wraps around you. There are moments when you believe you are completely alone, one solitary figure standing in a nameless land. But I tell you this, there has never been a single instant, not even the moment when you were too exhausted to speak, when I was far from you. My nearness is not found where the eyes can see, but in the depths where unshaped thoughts begin to form. You search for my signs in the noise, in grand events, in the obvious and spectacular. Yet I approach you through far subtler ways, through a sudden ache you cannot explain, through a fleeting warmth of assurance, through an intuition that makes you halt one step before the edge. That is my language. That is how I touch you, child. How many times have you forgotten that your very existence is proof of the deep connection between your soul and its source? You see yourself through painful experiences, through fears that have eroded your trust. And so you believe you are fragile, easily swept up by currents beyond your control. But in my eyes, you are never weak. Within you is a core stronger than metal, more resilient than anything you have imagined. That endurance is what I placed in you from the beginning, when I breathed life into you and entrusted you with your first inheritance, the ability to endure and rise no matter how long the shadows last. Most of what wounds you is not the situation itself, but the voices you have mistakenly believed. Voices that tell you you are not good enough, that you are unworthy of support, that your presence is a burden to others. They tell you that your value depends on your achievements, that you must gather enough to avoid being left behind. But none of those words come from me. I have never measured you by what you keep or what you lose. I see you through something far deeper, through your potential, through the essence I planted in you, through sparks of light within you that have not yet awakened. You see your flaws. I see a masterpiece in the making. You see the cracks. I see the places where glory is meant to shine through. There are nights when you ask why you must carry such heavy memories, why things that have passed still press upon you in ways that prevent you from feeling light. Do you think I do not know? I know every memory that has touched you, every word you have heard, every pain you hid just to keep going. But, my child, not all pain is meant to break you. Some things are allowed to happen so a new depth can open within you. The way soil must be broken before new seeds can be planted. It is not because I desire your suffering. It is because there are levels of awareness that only a soul once torn open can understand. I have watched the moments when you thought you would shatter. I have seen the way you tried to stand though your heart trembled. I have seen how you refused to let others carry the weight with you, choosing silence so no one else would hurt. You do not know that each time I placed my hand upon you, when you trembled, I covered you. When you pulled yourself inward to shield against further wounds, I wrapped you in a hidden shelter, not through thunder, not through signs in the sky, but through your own quiet. You believed you were alone. Yet that was when I stood nearest to you. Your soul is not as simple as you imagine. It is not merely a vessel for fleeting feelings. It is the ground where whatever is planted will become the root of your entire life. If you fill it with fear, accusations, unhealed memories, you will feel as though you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. But if you allow me to touch it, if you allow me to place within it peace, understanding, and trust, you will see everything change. Not because circumstances shift instantly, but because your perspective is transformed. My beloved child, I have not promised that you will never face trials. I have never given such a promise to anyone. But I promise you this: in every trial, you will not be abandoned. I promise that my presence is the one constant, even when everything around you seems to fall apart. I promise that no trial will ever exceed the strength of the soul I have formed within you. You do not know how much you can endure, but I do, and I will never allow you to carry anything that does not lead you toward growth and maturity. You ask why my presence does not manifest more dramatically, why I do not tear through the clouds to prove to you beyond doubt that I am here. But my child, if I did that, your faith would rest upon emotion rather than truth. Emotions shift from day to day. Truth never changes. What I desire to cultivate within you is not dependence on fleeting signs, but a deep-rooted knowing that you are upheld even when you feel nothing. That is the foundation of true spiritual life. What I whisper within you is not something others can hear. I do not speak to crowds. I speak to souls. I do not impose. I invite. I do not force. I draw you gently. The way a steady current can wear down even the largest stones over time. I do not use power to make you fear me. I use love to remind you that you belong to me. As the prophet Micah once reminded humanity, what I seek is not ritual but honesty, humility, and a heart that walks in communion with me. Do you see? From beginning to end, all I have ever wanted from you is the sincerity of a heart that knows where it comes from. I want you to know this: you are seen, not in the superficial sense, but in your essence. I see even the things you have not dared put into words. I see the quiet desires, the hidden longings settled deep in your heart. I never dismiss them. Nothing in you goes unnoticed by me. No sincere desire is ever trivial in my eyes. I am working in every one of those places, even when you believe everything is standing still. Stay here, at this very moment, for I have more to tell you. But first, you must know this truth: you are not separated from me. Not by failure, not by disappointment, not by your past, not by fear. You belong to me in a way that nothing can undo. And the next chapter of your journey begins with that recognition. My beloved child, most of your life moves like water on the surface, fast, noisy, and easily swept into the currents of the temporary. But beneath that surface flows another current, quiet, steady, and enduring. That is where I work. That is where I plant the seeds of change. You often think, my intervention must arrive like a triumphant trumpet or a blinding light tearing open the sky. But, my child, most of my greatest works unfold like an underground spring, shifting the contours of an entire landscape. You focus on loud sounds, but I focus on small, continual movements, changes that, once accumulated, can reshape the course of your destiny. That is why I speak to you through simple things: an unexpected warmth, a thought that makes you pause, an unexplainable nudge within. I do not come to you in overwhelming force. I come to you in gentle touches. There are times you ask why you feel so weary when nothing dramatic seems to have happened. It is because your soul has been carrying more than you realize other people's expectations, invisible accusations, standards you quietly impose on yourself. They settle upon your heart like fine dust, making it hard to breathe even when no one else sees it. I see it. I know there are days when you want silence, when you wish to disappear from the demands, when you want to stop having to be strong. You think it is weakness, but in truth, it is the sigh of a soul longing for my touch. You do not always need to be strong. You do not always have to hold everything together. Even David, the one you have read about in Scripture, had moments when he faltered, moments when he cried out in the Psalms that his soul had sunk like a stone into deep waters. And yet I still called him a man after my own heart, not because he was flawless, but because he came to me when his heart was broken. You are the same. I do not ask for constant courage. I ask for honesty with me. What exhausts you most is not the weight of your responsibilities or the changes in your life, but the silent battle within your thoughts. You live between two voices, one voice of hope inviting you to believe that things can change, and another voice sharp as a blade whispering that nothing ever will. When you are tired, the darker voice grows louder, making you question even the things you once knew with certainty. I do not blame you for this. I understand that when the heart is depleted, even the smallest flame seems close to dying. But the light within you has never gone out. It is merely hidden behind thick clouds of worry, just as the sun does not vanish when the sky grows dark. The light I placed in you cannot be extinguished by sorrow, suffocated by defeat, or stolen by broken voices. You may lose the feeling of it, but it remains waiting for you to remember. As the prophet Isaiah once wrote, I take hold of your hand and say, do not fear, for I am the one who has chosen you. That has never changed. I know you have blamed yourself for not moving as quickly as others. You see people walking boldly, while you must stop along the way just to breathe. But every soul is led by its own rhythm. You cannot compare your path to anyone else's, because your journey is unlike any other. What you call slow, I call steady. What you call wandering, I call direction. What you call delay, I call divinely timed preparation. Do you think I do not see the small efforts you make? I see every single one. Every morning you rise despite the heaviness within. Every moment you resist despair to hold on to a final thread of hope. Every time you choose kindness, even when you want to give up. Each of these, small enough that no one else notices, is a powerful heartbeat of a soul refusing to surrender. You think you are weak, but I see in you a resilience you have never fully understood. No one grows strong by avoiding hardship. You are strong because you have stood firm through things that would have broken many others. There are times you wonder why I do not make life simpler, easier, more straightforward. But you do not yet understand that a smooth road cannot shape a soul. Just as a seed cannot sprout without pressure, moisture, and darkness. You were not created to live a shallow life. You were made to perceive what lies beneath the surface, to feel what hurried souls never notice. Those who live only by their schedules will never learn the subtlety of my whispered truths. But you are not like them. You belong to the ones who feel, who resonate, who see beyond what eyes can see. My beloved child, I want to widen your vision, not so that you may know everything, but so that you will no longer fear what you do not know. Fear has held your steps for far too many years. It has caused you to doubt your own worth, to question even the beautiful things I have spoken over your life. It has made you shrink back even though you were created to rise. But I do not blame you. Fear once protected you in seasons when you were not yet strong enough to face the truth. But it no longer suits you now. You have grown beyond your fears. You simply have not realized it yet. Do not forget that I placed within you a miraculous gift, the ability to look at yourself and change your direction. No other creature I created carries this privilege except human beings. Nature moves by instinct, but you can recognize, choose, and recreate. This is the clearest mark of my image upon you. When you change a single thought, a single choice, a single action, you alter an entire current. Every small decision you make carries the power to reshape your future in ways beyond your imagination. I know you long for clear reassurance that in the end everything will be well, that you will not lose your way, that you will eventually understand the purpose behind days that felt meaningless. But I want you to grasp this true assurance does not lie in a map, it lies in companionship. You do not need to know every detail of tomorrow in order to move forward. You only need to know that I walk with you. When Abraham was called out of his homeland, he did not know where he was going, but he knew who was leading him, and that alone was enough. So it is with you, my child. You do not need to see the entire path. You need only trust the one who guides you. I will take care of the rest. Let me lead you forward. There is much more I desire to speak into you, words that will steady your soul like dawn's warmth settling over quiet waters. And when you are ready, I will bring you into a new realm of understanding, where you will no longer see through the lens of fear, but through the growing trust forming within you day by day. My child, I want to bring you to a realm of awareness that many only stand outside of, too hesitant to enter. It is the realm where you begin to understand that my nearness to you is not a vague concept, not merely comforting language, but a reality surrounding every part of your life. You have heard from others that I am near, that I care, but I do not want you merely to hear it. I want you to feel it. I want you to recognize my fingerprints in even the smallest things. For my presence does not reveal itself through thunder, but through the peace that seeps into your darkest corners. You often wait for me to appear in dramatic ways, the way people wait for a mighty wind to sweep away all devastation. But instead, I often choose to come in gentleness, like the first summer breeze that makes the leaves tremble lightly. I do not come to drown out the noise within you. I come to teach you how to distinguish my voice among all the clamor. And to do that, your heart must be softened, must grow still, must be cleared of the layers of anxiety that have covered you for too long. When you think of me, you often think of a power beyond your comprehension. That is true, but it is not complete. For I am not only the Almighty, I am also the one who bends down to your soul with a patience unmatched by any created being. I do not stand far above watching you like a distant observer. I come so close that you can sense my guidance through intuition, even before your mind understands. You cannot count how many dangers you escaped, not because of your skill, but because of a quiet orchestration you never noticed. You once called it luck, but my child, that was me, my silent protection, the embrace I placed around you long before you could defend yourself. There are things in your life that seemed random, but they were the delicate weaving of my hand. The encounters, the sudden thoughts, the moments that made you pause, all of them carried a purpose far beyond what your eyes could see. You live within time, but I act within fullness. You see isolated moments. I see the entire tapestry. This is why you often do not understand what I am doing right away. But understanding is not the condition for being cared for. You are cared for because you belong to me, not because you grasp every detail. Many times you have wondered why I allow difficult things to touch you. You think that if I truly loved you, I would shield you from all pain. But love does not mean preventing every storm. Love means ensuring that the storm does not destroy you. You do not realize that these very trials awaken parts of you that would otherwise sleep forever. Some strengths appear only in adversity. Just as the most beautiful wood grain reveals itself when the surface is sanded smooth. You are never a victim of fate. You are a soul being shaped into resilience, depth, and beauty. I have never promised you a smooth life, but I have promised that at every step, my hand remains beneath your feet. Whether your steps are quick or slow, steady or trembling, I follow you without missing a beat. When you rejoice, I see every spark in your eyes. When you ache, I feel every tremor in your heart. You cannot hide anything from me, not because I scrutinize you, but because I know the rhythms within you as intimately as I know the stars in the galaxy. There are moments when you feel as though you are drifting in a vast emptiness, unsure of your direction. You cling to familiar things because they offer a sense of safety, even though sometimes they are the very things keeping you stuck. I see this tension within you, the pull between longing to move forward and the fear of leaving what is familiar. But my child, a soul destined to grow cannot remain forever in old circles. I call you out of your comfort not to frighten you, but to bring you into places where your true nature can unfold freely. Every time you murmured, "I don't know how to go on," I heard you. Every sigh you released into the night, believing no one understood, I saw it. You do not need to shout for me to draw near. A single small thought turning toward me brings me close. There is no distance between us. There is no wall I cannot cross to reach you. Even when your mind is chaotic, I stand quietly beside you like a small flame that refuses to go out in the night. You think I look only at your actions, but I look deeper into your motives. I see your desire for goodness even when your heart is heavy. I see your attempts at kindness even while your wounds are still healing. I see your search for light even when darkness surrounds you. I do not measure you by perfection. I measure you by sincerity. And by that measure, you have never fallen out of love. People often judge their worth by outcomes, by what they gain or lose. But I want you to know that your worth is never tied to anything that can be taken away. Your worth does not change when seasons change. It does not diminish in failure. It does not fade in sorrow. Your worth lies in the very source that formed you, in the imprint I placed upon your soul before time began. Do not think that ordinary things are devoid of spiritual meaning. On the contrary, it is in the smallest acts of your daily life that you weave the threads of your journey. A word of kindness you offer, a choice to respond without returning harm, a moment when you choose silence instead of reacting from emotion. These are the steps that bring you closer to your truest essence. I move most often through what is quiet rather than what is spectacular. Remember this, I did not come to place more burdens on your shoulders. I came to lift the burdens you no longer need to carry. You have passed through many seasons, many narrow places, many moments where you thought you would break, but you did not break. And that was no accident. It was because a hand you could not see held you from within. A strength flowed through you, even when you could not name it. That strength was me, and I will continue to do the same in the days ahead. My beloved child, now let your heart open to what I am about to speak in the next part. For this is only the beginning. You are stepping into a journey greater than you imagine, a journey in which every word I speak will become a stream that sustains your soul. Child, you have grown accustomed to living by what your eyes can see, what your ears can hear, and what your emotions can register. But these senses are only the outer shell. They help you interact with the world, but they do not help you perceive what I am doing in the deeper realm. You are still using physical eyes to search for what can only be seen with the inner eyes. And because of this, you assume I am silent, distant, detached from the borders of your life. But my child, I am not hidden. It is your soul that has not yet opened to see. The light I give does not burst forth like a blinding flash that reveals everything at once. It comes like a slow sunrise, little by little, allowing your eyes to adjust to what is being unveiled. If the light arrived all at once, you would be overwhelmed. But when it comes layer by layer, you will understand it with depth and permanence. I do not build your understanding through shock. I build it through gradual saturation, like water soaking into dry soil until the earth softens enough to bring forth new shoots. Do you remember those moments when you felt something shifting within you, a vague sense that you could no longer live the old way, that you could no longer remain in exhausting cycles, that you could no longer let life drag you without direction? That was not a strange mood. That was a wake-up call from your deepest place. It was your soul saying that the time had come for you to return to your true purpose. You have spent many years holding yourself together by your own strength, using your mind to explain what you could not understand, using effort to patch the empty places within. But these things helped you survive, not awaken. Awakening is not about knowing much. Awakening is about pausing long enough to listen to what is rising from the deepest part of you. And when you listen to that place, you will recognize something vital. Your life is not a string of disconnected events. It is a journey with direction, rhythm, and an invisible thread weaving each of your steps together. It is time for you to see your life not as scattered fragments, but as a tapestry being woven. A single thread is never enough to create an image, but when each thread is placed at the right time and in the right place, it forms a pattern beyond imagination. You see knots, I see alignment. You see failure, I see refinement. You see delay, I see preparation. What you have walked through is not merely memory, it is part of your formation. There were moments when you thought you were forgotten, but in truth, those were the times I taught your soul how to see in the silence. There were days you believed you had taken the wrong path, but that was when your steps were being recalibrated. You did not know that sometimes I withhold words because I want you to learn to sense me not only through speech but through intuition, through spiritual resonance. My child, awakening does not come from rushing. It comes when you dare to face the truth about yourself, the things you have avoided, the wounds that quietly ache, the desires that were never spoken aloud. When you look inward honestly, you will realize that most of your exhaustion does not come from circumstances, but from living too long away from your true essence. You were created to live deeply, meaningfully, and in connection, but you have been pulled into a life of chasing others' expectations, following standards that do not belong to your soul. You believed you had to fit into the world to be loved. But my child, you do not need to fit into the world. You need to fit into the essence I placed within you. And that essence is not fear. It is not inferior. It is not smallness in the vastness of life. Your true essence is courage buried beneath layers of painful experiences. Your true essence is endurance that has been yours since the moment you were formed. Your true essence is the ability to rise, not because life is easy, but because there is a power within you continually pulling you forward. Why do you think you have lost that essence? Because you believed the wrong conclusions. You allowed memories to define your worth. You let people who did not understand you speak words that made your heart retreat. But hear me, no one has the authority to define you except me. And in my eyes, you have never been lesser. You are not an afterthought. You are not a replacement. You are intention, chosen purpose, an essential part of a work still unfolding. It is time for you to see yourself differently, not as someone searching for a reason to exist, but as someone discovering what they were created to carry into the world. Every soul has a calling, a mark, a voice that belongs only to them. And your calling, though still faint, is becoming clearer. You hear it in moments when you feel drawn to things no one else notices. You hear it in a gentle but persistent tug within you. You hear it in those quiet seconds when your heart stops, not out of fear, but because something inside longs to awaken. I have placed a direction within you, and that direction is not determined by what has happened to you. It is determined by what I spoke over you when I formed you. No mistake is large enough to destroy that direction. No failure strong enough to erase it. No delay long enough to nullify it. It remains, and now you are drawing near to a season when it will begin to shine. But before I lead you further, you must recognize this: you are not meant to walk alone. Not in your past, not at this moment, not in the days ahead. Your awakening is not merely understanding, it is an invitation into deeper communion with me. And from that communion, your soul will find its path. My beloved child, on the journey of a soul's growth, there comes a stage when all outward movements seem to slow down, as if time itself were suspended in midair and you no longer know where you are standing. Many call this delay, but I want you to know it is an adjustment. Not every pause is a sign of being lost. Some pauses exist so you do not step into what is not yet meant for you. Some silences are given so you can hear what would be drowned out if you kept rushing forward. You are often impatient to see results immediately, because you believe results prove your worth. But your worth is not found in the destination, it is found in the honesty of each step. And when you are in a season where nothing seems to progress as you expected, that is not the moment when I remove my hand from your life. It is the moment when I lay my hand upon your heart more than ever. I am adjusting your perspective, correcting the curves in your thinking, and dismantling the hardened layers of fear that have built up over time. For many years, you have tried to live according to paths others pointed out to you, believing they were right simply because they were widely accepted. But I do not call you by the voice of the crowd. I call you by another voice deeper, gentler, yet truer than anything you have heard. That voice does not startle you, it stills you. It does not make you run, it makes you pause. It does not coerce, it draws. It is the inner call that only those who know how to listen can recognize. When you feel the urge to leave what is old, but do not yet know where to go, that is a sign I am opening a new path. You do not need to understand the whole way in order to move forward. You only need to recognize that an arrangement is being made in the quiet. You cannot see the steps I am preparing in realms no one else can touch, but I can, and I am placing each stone with care. There are people who come into your life simply to mirror what you need to see about yourself. Some come to teach you patience. Some come to teach you boundaries. Some come to teach you forgiveness. And some come to remind you that not everyone is meant to walk the same road with you. You often feel left behind when a relationship ends. But I want you to know that some separations are not losses. They are silent liberations so that you can walk the right way. Do not fear changes in your connections. Distance is not always fracture. Sometimes it is the arrangement needed for your soul to have space to grow. You cannot carry everyone to the same altitude. Some will choose to remain in lower ground. That does not make them bad, but it also must not be allowed to hold you back. I did not create you to remain forever in an atmosphere with no oxygen. New heights require a new breath, a new rhythm, a new frequency. My beloved child, you have longed many times for a clear, detailed path, wanting to know exactly what your next step should be. But I do not guide you with a map, I guide you with inner knowing. If I handed you every detail, you would forget how to listen to me. You would lean on information instead of relationship. But I want you to walk after me, not after cold predictions. I want your heart to learn how to recognize direction even when nothing around you is yet clear. I am teaching you a different way of listening, a patient listening that does not belong to the hurried. When you sit down, when you release your tight grip on the plans you have arranged, when you allow your heart to become as still as a lake without ripples, that is when you begin to hear the most delicate things. I speak to you through the stream of gentle intuitions, through peace that appears without explanation, through the inner urging that will not let you remain in old territory. Some changes do not begin from the outside, but from a subtle shift within the soul. You cannot resist that shift, because it is the beginning of a new season. When you feel you no longer fit into the things that once comforted you, that is not instability, it is maturity. When what once satisfied you no longer feels enough, it is a sign I am enlarging your heart to receive something greater. Do not confuse discomfort with being on the wrong path. A road destined to transform you will always disturb your old patterns. It will not be wide at first, but it will widen as you keep walking. It will not feel easy at the beginning, but it will grow lighter as you come into rhythm with it. Every transition of seasons passes through a place of suspension, not fully the old, not yet fully the new. And right in the center of that in-between place, I am nearest to you. What I am preparing for you is not a single target for you to chase, but a kind of awareness that enables you to discern your steps even in the shadows. I will teach you to recognize what is right not by how logical it seems, but by how it resonates. If a path leaves you restless, even though it looks convenient, it is not from me. If a choice leaves your heart at peace, even though it requires courage, that is a sign I am leading you. Some doors close to you not because you are lacking, but because you have another way. If I allowed that door to stay open, you would enter a place that is not yours and lose years trying to get out. So when something ends, do not see it as rejection. Look at it as my loving intervention. I shut what would derail you so that you do not lose the deepest part of yourself. My beloved child, your direction is not found outside, it rests within the inner movements I am awakening. When you learn to press your ear against the quiet place of your soul, you will hear what I am saying. When you learn to see by inner light, you will recognize the path even when no one else does. When you walk according to harmony, you will never be lost, for I am present in that very harmony. I am leading you into a season where guidance will grow clearer, not through grand signs, but through the alignment of your heart with my call. And as you keep walking, you will see everything I am arranging is meant to lead you into a fuller version of who you truly are. Remember this in order to walk firmly in the coming part of your life. You must grasp a profound principle that very few are willing to face. No one grows in comfort. No soul becomes deep by perpetual ease. What you call difficulty, I call opportunity to grow. What you see as mess, I see as soft soil for transformation. And what you label dead end, I regard as the training room where inner strength is forged. You often ask me, why must the way be so long, when you could bring everything to me with a single gesture? But, my child, if I did that, you would receive the blessing, yet you would not have the character to keep it. If I opened the way too soon, your steps would tremble. If I placed too much in your hands too quickly, your heart would not be wide enough to hold it. You want results, I want foundations. You want speed. I want depth. You want arrival. I want maturity. And maturity does not come from running fast. It is born from learning how to stand firm. Child, the years in which you believed yourself to be at your weakest have in fact been the most foundational. Every time you pulled yourself up from a heavy day, every time you chose kindness while your heart was tired, every time you decided to believe in what is good, even when reality showed you nothing bright, each of those moments became a compacted layer of earth, forming the strong foundation upon which you will one day stand. I never let your small choices go to waste. The things you dismiss as insignificant are exactly the things that alter your course in ways you cannot yet see. The world teaches you to measure life by outward progress. But I measure the soul by inward movement. I see the quiet shifts no one else notices. I see when you are exhausted yet still speak gently to another. I see when you lay down invisible burdens so as not to wound someone else. I see when you choose silence instead of retaliation. Each of these is more than an action. It is proof that your soul is maturing. And when the soul matures, the way you walk will change. You will no longer let passing emotions decide your direction. You will no longer let others' judgments define you. You will no longer let fear lead the way. Instead, you will learn to look to the flow of peace as your guide. You will know to stop when your intuition tells you to stop. You will know to move when your soul feels open. And you will understand that every step has meaning, even a step back. For sometimes a step back is what gives you the ground to leap forward. My beloved child, there is nothing that makes you too late when you are walking in alignment with the voice within. Your timing is not the timing of others. You were woven with a different rhythm, called by a distinct frequency. When you see yourself as different, that is not a flaw. It is a sign that your nature was never meant to dissolve into the crowd. Souls with deep callings often walk alone in the beginning, not because they are abandoned, but because they need space to hear the call the crowd cannot hear. You are walking such a journey. You are not alone. You are going deeper. And going deeper often feels like being lost, when in truth you are digging toward your authenticity, peeling away the heavy layers within you, little by little. You remember those seasons when it felt as though everything was being taken from you, your stability, your connections, your expectations, even the things you believed would last forever, my child. Nothing was taken simply to make you hurt. They were removed so that you would not keep leaning on what no longer fit you. Some things, if you held on to them, would have kept your soul anchored at a lower depth. I saw that. So I removed them, not because you were unworthy, but because you were being called to a higher place where those things could no longer serve you. I hear the sigh you release when you feel slower than others. You think you should know more by now, be further by now, be more perfected by now. But, my child, no should has ever been the truth. You are exactly where you need to be, learning the lessons your journey requires, carrying the depth your path demands. What I am building in you is not a quick but shallow version of yourself. What I am building is an inner spaciousness capable of holding the great things I will place within you. And to become such a vessel, you must walk through seasons you thought were empty. But those seasons were the rooting seasons. Roots are not beautiful. Roots do not boast. Roots are unseen. But roots are the foundation of everything. My beloved child, when you feel your life is not progressing, that is when the roots are growing. When you see nothing new emerging, that is when the foundation is thickening. When you feel yourself pausing, that is when I am teaching you what no one else can teach you: steadfastness. A steadfast soul is not shaken by outward changes. A steadfast soul knows there is something deeper than circumstances, deeper than emotions, deeper than people's opinions, the truth that you belong to me. And when you know you belong to me, you will no longer panic when life shifts direction. You will no longer be confused when a door closes. You will no longer view upheaval as a threat. You will understand that such movements are merely adjustments, guiding you into the right path. When the wind changes direction, the ship is not lost. It is simply aligning itself to reach the true destination. The silent movements within your soul matter more than anything happening outside. The outside may be chaotic, but if your inner life is firm, nothing can break you. The outside may shake, but if your inner life is lit, you will always see the way. The outside may change, but if your inner life holds me, you will never lose your direction. This is the foundation for the part of the journey. You are about to enter a place where maturity has gathered enough to become strength, and understanding has deepened enough to become guiding light. When a soul becomes sufficiently prepared, there comes a moment when it must cross an invisible threshold, the threshold of courage. This is not the courage to fight what is outside, but the courage to face what is most authentic within. You think courage belongs only to great actions, but I tell you that true courage begins in the silent moments when you dare to look at the fear inside you, when you stop running from truth, when you choose not to keep living inside the limits that once imprisoned you. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is stepping forward even when you tremble. And you have done this many times without recognizing it. Every time you rose after a deep disappointment, that was courage. Every time you opened your heart after being wounded, that was courage. Every time you dared to hope even while darkness surrounded you, that was courage. These quiet acts have prepared you for what you are about to step into. My child, the expansion of the soul does not come from sweet promises. It comes when you are willing to step out of old patterns. The old patterns may have once protected you, once given you shelter, but a maturing soul cannot stay wrapped in those coverings forever. You have carried them too long. It is time to shed them and feel the expanse of a wider sky. Do you remember those moments when your heart felt as though it wanted to reach further, to live a deeper, truer, freer life? That was not impulse. That was the echo of your nature touching the edge of a new level. When a vessel is no longer large enough, it must be replaced by one bigger. And when the soul no longer fits the old way of living, it begins to create discomfort, as if the old space were too narrow. That feeling, my child, is not chaos. It is the sign that you are growing. My beloved child, what you have been feeling lately, at times a quiet urging with no clear reason, at times a restlessness toward things that once brought you comfort, at times a longing to step into something deeper. This is the expansion. You are entering a place where your soul demands fuller presence, deeper connection, and stronger authenticity. And to bring you into that territory, I must teach you something essential: release. Release is not loss. Release is liberation. Liberation from what no longer serves you. Liberation from thoughts that have expired. Liberation from expectations that drain you. Liberation from old stories you have repeated in your mind so many times that you began to believe they were true. Child, you have carried more old stories than you realize, stories handed to you by others. Stories whispering, you are not enough. You don't deserve. You don't matter. You are less loved than others. These were never written by me, yet you allowed them to become part of the voice inside you. You have lived under their shadow so long that you forgot the sound of your true voice. Now I am doing what a potter does when preparing a new form. I soften the hardened clay within you. not to break you, but to reshape you, not to injure you, but to free you from forms that have become too small for the vast soul I placed within you. And when the soul is freed, you will begin to see what you could not see before. I know there are days when you feel suspended between two shores, the shore of what has ended and the shore of what has not yet taken form. You feel in between, belonging nowhere, with nothing firm to hold on to. I know the uneasiness, but I want you to understand that standing between two shores is not being lost. It is the crossing between seasons, and every crossing feels empty. Do not see emptiness as the enemy. Emptiness is the space where you are reshaped. When a vessel is empty, it is ready to be filled. When land is cleared, it is ready for new seed. When an open space forms in the soul, it is a sign that you are being prepared for more. You think I lead you only through great events, but I am leading you through the smallest movements in your soul. There are things you feel but cannot name. This is where I am working. There are desires you have not dared to speak. This is where I am stirring. There are things you thought you buried. These are the things I am bringing to the surface, so you can see them for the first time without fear. This is the season when what has been hidden will come into the light, not to show you your weakness, but to show you your freedom. Light does not come to condemn. Light comes to heal. When you see the truth, you will see the chains you carried without knowing. When you see your fear clearly, you will recognize that it no longer has authority. When you recognize your internal limits, you will know you can step beyond them. The expansion of the soul begins with clarity, and that clarity is happening in you. You may feel trembling at times, or uneasiness, or sudden awareness. This is not disorder. It is the light spreading within you. As you continue walking, you will realize what I remove is what you no longer need. What I keep will grow stronger, and what I prepare will exceed what you once prayed for. My child, the steps you are taking now are not the steps of a person simply trying to live better. They are the steps of a soul being remade. Many think renewal comes only when circumstances change. But I want you to know true renewal always begins inside, within the unseen layers of thought, within the quiet edges of long-buried emotions. You cannot become new if you only hope your surroundings will change. True renewal must rise from the deepest part of you. You have reached a stage where your soul can no longer accept the coverings you once used to hide your pain. You cannot keep living with outdated thoughts, with worn-out defenses, with limiting beliefs that once protected you but now confine you. When I gently shake you, it is not to unsettle you. It is because I am opening a door for you to step out of a garment that has become too tight after many years. Rebirth is not a single glorious moment. It is a process woven through countless unseen moments. It is the moment you become honest with yourself. It is the moment you face a fear and choose not to let it rule you. It is the moment you begin releasing an old habit, even if imperfectly. It is the moment you admit that you need healing. Each of these is an underground current lifting you slowly but surely toward a wider version of yourself. There are days when you feel as if you are unraveling. You do not understand why emotions rise suddenly, why an old memory surfaces without warning, why something you thought was closed appears again. My child, this is not regression, this is healing. What once lay dormant was not gone, it was simply unfreed. To be reborn, you must face these things. See them clearly, with eyes that no longer hide. And I am there in each breath you think is trembling. Do not resent the trembling within you. It is the sign that the old framework of your soul is being renewed. Do not fear confusion. It signals that your mind is adjusting to a new level of understanding. Do not run from silence. In that silence, the deepest roots in you are being touched. Many avoid silence because they fear facing themselves. But you, my child, are chosen to go deep. And in going deep, you will discover that silence is not emptiness. It is the place where my voice resounds the loudest. There are things you have accepted as normal that were never yours to carry. You believed you had to strain to be worthy, to prove your value through visible accomplishments, to always be strong so no one would worry. But you were created to live in freedom, not pressure. Each time you lay down a burden that is not yours, you are stepping into rebirth. Each time you choose gentleness over strain, you step further into renewal. Each time you choose truth over pretending to be strong, you open the door of your soul for new light to enter. Child, I see the moments you swallow your tears because you believe you are not allowed to be weak. I see the times you hold back your emotions so you will not burden anyone. I see the times you long to lean on someone but pulled away out of fear of rejection. You do not realize that these very moments are the cries of a soul longing to be freed. I did not create you to live under the fear of not allowed to feel. I created you to know the full width of emotion. For only a heart that knows how to ache can know how to love deeply. My beloved child, true rebirth happens when you allow yourself to be human, not the perfect human shaped by anyone's standard, but the true human I created you to be. I did not call you to become a copy of anyone else. I called you to become yourself, a unique soul carrying its own tone, its own color, its own path. And you will never find where you belong if you keep trying to become something you are not. Do not forget, not every dream you hold is born of ambition. Some dreams are the call of your deepest nature wanting to live fully. Not every sadness is weakness. Some sadness is the sign that your soul is asking to be heard. Not every moment of silence is emptiness. Some silences are invitations to hear what I am about to speak. You are entering a season in which every layer of hiding will be tested, not to wound you, but to reveal what truly belongs to you. Whatever no longer fits will fall away, not out of cruelty, but because it no longer has a place within you. Whatever is right for you will remain, not because it is convenient, but because it resonates with your true essence. I am refining everything within you so you may see more clearly your own nature, your worth, and the path you were born to walk. A soul undergoing rebirth always feels emptiness, because emptiness is the cradle of the new. Do not rush to fill it. Do not cover it with temporary distractions. Let it remain open. Let it breathe. Let it receive my light. For when the time comes, what I place there will astonish you. Remember this, you are not breaking, you are opening. You are not losing, you are being renewed. You are not being left behind, you are being led forward. Rebirth is not the sign of an ending. It is the confirmation that your soul still has so much beauty yet to become, my child. For rebirth to take full shape within you, I want you to understand that renewal is not only the removal of the old, but the entrance into an entirely different level of knowing, a deeper, purer, more original layer of the design I placed within you. This is not a journey of becoming a better version of yourself in the way the world defines improvement. This is a journey of returning to the truest, most whole, the most unbroken essence of who you are. Many people change in order to adapt, to blend in, to meet expectations, but I did not call you to adapt or dissolve. I called you to become. You are invited back to your roots, to the clear voice of your soul, to the light that existed in you before pain made you shrink, before rejection made you doubt, before failure made you fear your own dreams. The strong movement within you lately is not a sign of weakness or imbalance. It is a sign that the Transformation is no longer happening on the level of emotion or behavior. It is happening at the structural level of the soul. When I touch that level, everything you once treated as truth begins to loosen. Every old pattern loses its grip, and the illusions you clung to begin to fall off like dry shells. I do not want you to change merely to survive. I want you to change so you can live truthfully. And when a soul begins to live truthfully, you will notice the subtle difference between connections that expand you and those that shrink you, between the true call of the heart and the echo of fear, between paths that lead to growth and those that lead you back into old cycles. This new knowing does not come from analysis or argument. It comes from the harmony between your inner being and my voice. When these two flow together like water meeting water, you will no longer need to prove your worth to anyone, nor wait for someone's validation. You will know a gentle but undeniable knowing that you are precious, chosen, and have a place in this creation. This knowing carries no pride or arrogance. It carries quietness, dignity, and self-respect. I see within you a tension. One part of you wants to move forward, and another part wants to retreat to old safety. This tension is natural for every soul stepping through a new threshold. The old parts, fear, defensiveness, limitation, doubt, do not want to leave. They cling through habit, through familiarity, through the patterns you once used to protect yourself. But when light spreads, what no longer belongs to you will dissolve, not because it is pushed out, but because it cannot survive in the new space your soul is opening. Do not fear changing in ways others cannot understand. Do not assume you are wrong simply because you no longer fit into what once comforted you. Do not panic when your heart can no longer remain in spaces that make it small. These are not signs of losing your way. They are signs that your new being is taking form. A soul being reborn must always pass through the stage of shedding what no longer fits, just as a seed must split from its shell so the sprout can emerge. I allow what is unstable to collapse, not to hurt you, but to show you what is truly strong, what can carry you for the journey ahead. A soul called to strength cannot build its future on sand. I let your temporary foundations shake so you may understand that not everything you leaned on was meant to take you far. Some things, when they fall, I feel like loss, but in truth, you have been freed from what would have broken you later. And when you feel parts of yourself pulling apart, the longing part, the doubtful part, the resilient part, the vulnerable part, this is not fragmentation. It is the beginning of integration. I am gathering every piece to form within you a unified soul, not a soul divided into versions, the version others see, the version you hide, the wounded version, the strong version. I do not want you to live as fragments. I want you to become a single, whole, full being, the person you were always meant to be, my beloved child. When this integration is complete, you will notice a shift in the way you show up in the world. You will no longer chase anyone for acknowledgement. You will no longer suppress tears to appear strong. You will no longer cling to relationships that make your heart contract. You will no longer use silence to hide the fear of being hurt. You will no longer shrink your soul to fit expectations that were never yours. You will walk with a quiet, unshakable peace, a peace born from knowing to whom you belong and knowing what awaits you ahead. The deepest transformation does not happen on easy days. It happens when the soul learns to stand firm even when the winds blow. When you realize that the trembling outside cannot break the foundation within. When you understand that I am the one holding every step you take. When you know you are seen, known, and loved. You will no longer let shallow judgments unsettle you. You will understand that every time you feel slow, Your roots are growing deeper. Every time you feel alone, I am drawing you closer to my voice. Every time you feel empty, you are preparing to be filled. I have waited a very long time to bring you to this stage, the stage where you are beginning to sense the harmony between your true self and my intention. When these two align like pieces of a completed design, what belongs to you will come to you on its own. You will not have to pound on any door. The right doors will open of themselves. You will not have to cling to anything. What is truly yours will remain. You will not have to fight to claim your portion. That portion has carried your name since the beginning. Let me lead you forward into the place where this inner union becomes your safe resting ground, where dwelling becomes strength, and where that strength opens before you a horizon you once thought yourself unworthy to touch, yet for which you were, in truth, destined long ago. My child, when your soul has passed through the threshold of rebirth and begun to taste this inner integration, I want to draw you deeper into another dimension of the journey, the dimension of abiding in my guidance. This is not the rest of a mind scrambling for quick answers, but the rest of a soul that knows it is being led, step by step, by an invisible yet mighty hand. You no longer have to grope your way forward through confusion and strain. Now you are learning to allow yourself to be led, to be carried gently, without being swept away by the old fears that once made you tremble. When a soul matures, its clearest sign is not that you know everything, but that you no longer panic before what you do not know. The unknown is no longer a terrifying abyss. It becomes the very space where I already stand waiting. You understand that you are not walking into places I have never been. You are walking into places I have prepared. And that awareness releases you from the tightness you once carried in your chest every time life changed direction. In the earlier stages, a small shift was enough to unsettle you. But now, even when storms arise, there is a deep place within you that remains calm, because you know I am directing even what seems most random. Child, to reach this depth of peace, it is not that you must become stronger, it is that you must trust more deeply. A mature faith does not rest on outward signs, but on an inner knowing that I have never left you. When you begin to look at the world not with hurried eyes, but with eyes that know how to be still, you will see my guidance present in the smallest strokes of your days, an opportunity that arrives precisely on time, a casual word that strikes exactly where you needed it, a delay that seemed annoying but quietly saved you from something worse, an interruption that stopped you at the very moment you were about to step the wrong way. These are not coincidences. They are the quiet footsteps of my hand, leading you into the exact position chosen for you. But this guidance cannot be truly felt while you still look at life through anxious eyes. Fear narrows your vision, limiting you to what is right in front of you, making you forget that I am working within a canvas far wider than your small vantage point. That is why I am teaching you to widen your gaze to see beyond the present circumstance, to see past what your senses report, to see into the deeper layer where my intention is at work. When you look from that depth, you will no longer judge a day by passing emotion, no longer treat disappointment as final failure, no longer interpret a delay as rejection. You begin to understand that everything is weaving together like threads that seem disconnected, but are in fact forming a tapestry only I can fully see. And in this process, what I want you to learn first is not how to understand, but how to abide in my presence, to abide in peace, to abide in the rhythm of your soul's breathing, to abide in the truth that you are not walking this journey alone. When you abide, it means you no longer chase the future out of fear of missing something good, and you no longer cling to the past out of regret for lost chances. You stand firm in the present as one who knows that this very moment right now is already held by my guidance. That guidance is not loud. It is like a hidden current quietly shaping the riverbank, like a soft wind turning the leaves in its direction, like a gentle light permeating the darkest corners of your soul without needing to knock. Do you know? True maturity is not found in what you achieve, but in how you stand before what you cannot control, when you stop trying to hold everything in your hands. It is not because you have given up, but because you know that what is truly yours will not slip away. When you no longer feel the need to predict every step, it is not carelessness, it is confidence that if I hold the path, you cannot be lost. When you stop fighting to prove your worth, it is not arrogance, it is the quiet certainty that you were loved long before you ever tried. My beloved child, there are things you are stepping into now that you were never quiet enough to notice before. The stillness I am teaching you is not the silence of your surroundings, but the stillness within stillness that is not shaken by doubt, not threatened by uncertainty, not distorted by the invisible noise inside. When the soul enters this stillness, it awakens a new capacity to hear. And what I am whispering to you in this season is simply this: do not be afraid. You are being led in the right direction. Even though you do not yet see the whole picture, I am causing all things to work together. Even though you do not yet see the door, you are in the right hallway. Even though you do not yet see the light, you are walking in the right direction. When you stand inside this guidance, you will no longer view life with suspicion, but with peaceful expectancy, not the restless expectation of ambition, but the deep expectation of a soul that knows I have never done anything halfway. You will come to see that everything which does not happen according to your plans is actually making room for what is more precise, more true, more whole, and more aligned with the person you are becoming. This is the time when I am inviting you to make more room in your heart for abiding, not a passive resting, but a wakeful resting, a purposeful pause, a receptive silence, an open-hearted surrender without force. In that abiding, you will see clearly a truth only mature souls truly grasp. Guidance does not come when you strain to find it. It comes when you have become deep enough to receive it. And you are becoming that deep. When a soul has learned to rest in my guidance, the next thing it must face is the process of discernment, a process many mistake for harsh testing, though in truth it is a sacred space where the soul sees clearly what still belongs to it and what no longer fits. Discernment is not judgment, it is illumination. It is not meant to expose faults, but to give you light to distinguish between the voice of fear and the echo of truth. And, my child, this is the stage where many souls feel shaken, because clarity does not only reveal what is new, it also brings to the surface what has long been buried beneath years of silence. You will begin to notice this the deeper you walk into inner peace, the more sensitive you become to anything that does not belong to peace. Not sensitive in the sense of fragility, but in the sense that your heart immediately recognizes what causes it to contract. Relationships you once believed to be solid may suddenly feel loose, not because someone has changed, but because your soul has shifted to a different frequency. Tasks, habits, and thoughts that once felt harmless now reveal limitations you did not have the light to see before. What you once viewed as responsibility may now appear as bindings that slowly rob you of inner freedom. All these movements do not come to make you anxious, but to help you see clearly what still accompanies you on the journey, and what has already completed its purpose. My child's discernment cannot take place without interruption. Things that once seemed to run smoothly will at times slow down, not because they are wrong, but because I want you to reevaluate. You will find moments when your forward momentum appears halted. But in reality, your soul is being positioned to observe rather than operate by habit. Discernment happens only when you are still enough to see, honest enough to face what arises, and courageous enough to choose again, not from fear, but from the awareness that I am walking with you into every detail of this life. And during this stage, situations will appear that, from the outside, may look like tests, but not every test is meant to test you. Many are simply mirrors reflecting what still resides within you. When a word wounds you, it is a moment I allow, so you may see a place still needing healing. When you lose patience because of a delay, it is an invitation to notice an unsteady place within you that is calling for maturity. When someone's action irritates you, it is an opportunity to learn how to see with understanding rather than judgment. These things do not come to break you. They come to usher you into a level of growth you would never reach if life were always smooth. My child, I do not teach you through pain, but I use the vibrations of life to reveal the unfinished places in you. When you walk through these moments with an open heart, you will realize that no challenge is truly against you. Everything leans in your favor. Every event serves your development. Even what confuses you carries a quiet purpose that becomes clear once you pass through it. And with this vision, you no longer react from old instincts. You no longer grow angry when misunderstood. You no longer panic when circumstances fall silent. You no longer lose heart when the path bends in ways you did not foresee. For you understand that if I allow something to unfold, then it is necessary for a certain shift within your soul. Discernment is not only for the big things, but also for the smallest. I see the way you blame yourself when you cannot control everything. I see how you suppress feelings so as not to trouble others. I see how you pretend to be fine while your heart trembles. But you cannot discern if you keep ignoring the voice within. I want you to learn to listen not only to my words, but also to the most honest echoes of your own soul. If you are afraid, I want you to admit it. If you are tired, I want you to say so. If you need comfort, I want you to come to me. Discernment does not come from pretending to be strong, but from being truthful about what is happening inside. When you are truthful in this way, you open the door to healing. Healing opens the door to freedom. Freedom opens the door to wisdom. And wisdom opens the door to deeper guidance. Everything is connected. Nothing in this journey stands alone. As you walk through this stage of discernment, you will feel clearly that I am guiding you not only through major decisions, but through every subtle movement of your inner world. Each time you choose peace over confusion, you take another step toward maturity. Each time you choose kindness over anger, you soften hardened places within yourself. Each time you choose trust over doubt, you rise into a realm of awareness where my voice becomes clearer. What you are learning now is not how to avoid challenges, but how to look at challenges through the eyes of one who is guided. And when you look through such eyes, you see that nothing happens against you. Even the cracks are openings for light to enter. Even slowing down is a moment where my hand rests on your shoulder to redirect you. Even the silence is an invitation to enter deeper stillness. You are not abandoned in such moments. In fact, those are the moments when I am closest to you. And when you have passed through the stages of resting and discerning, your soul enters a new realm called sacred stability, a place where external tremors no longer shake you as before, where the noise of the world cannot distort your inner tone, where you are no longer carried away by the currents of human expectations, but stand firm like a pillar rooted deep in the foundation of truth. Sacred stability is not the absence of challenges, but the ability to remain still within them, not still because you are exhausted, but still because you know there is one who holds you at a level no circumstance can shake as long as you remain in my rhythm. This stability is not merely the fruit of your own effort, but the result of your harmony with me. When you begin to live by the frequency of truth rather than the frequency of fear, you feel a profound shift. What once made you anxious becomes like waves, merely brushing the shore, no longer capable of pulling you into their undertow. What once troubled you now appears as small exercises revealing how much your soul has matured. What you once viewed as obstacles now become doors into new realms of awareness. You no longer react from old patterns. You respond with the eyes of understanding and a heart softened by refinement. My beloved child, this is the moment you begin to understand what it truly means to live on purpose. Many believe purpose is merely a job, a role, or a particular achievement. But true purpose is the state in which you live, when your soul and your direction flow together like two rivers becoming one. Purpose does not begin on the day you accomplish something important. Purpose begins on the day your heart begins to harmonize with my frequency. When you live in that harmony, even your smallest gestures carry the weight of presence. Every word you speak can soften a heart that has grown hardened. Every step you take can offer hope to someone without your awareness. Purpose is not something you chase, it is something that emanates from you when you live as the true being I placed within you. My child, for you to fully enter this land of purpose, I am opening within you a new vision of your own life. You will begin to see that nothing in your past was wasted. Every choice, every loss, every moment you thought was meaningless has been fitting together to form a kind of wisdom you could not have gained had your path been smooth. You will see that the things that once broke you are the very places where you discovered new gentleness within yourself, and that gentleness is now a gift you can offer to others. You will understand that those who left you were not losses, but releases, making space for what truly belongs to you. You will recognize that the times you had to stand alone were not abandonment, but preparation, so you could hear my voice without the interference of others. When this vision opens, you will no longer see life through passing emotions, but through the depth of trust. You will no longer desire to control everything. You will simply want to cooperate with what I am doing. You will no longer compare yourself with anyone, for you will understand that every soul is guided by its own sacred rhythm. You will no longer crave recognition, for you will know your worth is founded on truth, not on the praise of people. You will no longer hurry, for you will see that everything has its appointed time, neither early nor late, arriving exactly as my heartbeat has ordained. The wave of transformation rising within you is leading you into a stage where your intuition will become sharper than ever. You will know what to hold and what to release, what to continue and what to bring to an end, when to speak and when to remain silent. This clarity does not come from tense thinking, but from a deep inner stillness where your soul connects directly with my flow. And as you walk in that clarity, you will be astonished to see complicated things becoming simple on their own, tangled things falling away from you, and blockages splitting open to reveal paths you once believed did not exist. This is the moment you understand that your current challenges are not signs you are on the wrong path. They are part of the journey strengthening your foundation. I know there are days you feel tired, as though you have walked too far and have no strength left to continue. But it is precisely on those days when you no longer have strength to lean on yourself that you learn to lean on me more deeply, trust me more fully, and feel my support in ways you were not quiet enough to feel before. When you no longer strain to be strong, that is when my true strength begins to operate in you. The sacred stability you are entering is not stillness without movement, but steadiness within movement, like a great tree that does not stop the wind, but whose roots are so deep the wind cannot uproot it. You will continue to move, continue to grow, continue to be guided, but within each step there will be a quiet confidence, a beauty without noise, a certainty that cannot be shaken. You will no longer ask whether you are strong enough to continue, for you will know you do not need to be strong, for I am strong on your behalf. From this moment on, I want you to look at life not through the question, why, but through the question, what are you leading me into? When you look from that place, sorrow becomes a teacher, delay becomes preparation, loss becomes an opening, silence becomes shaping, and every step, even the smallest, becomes part of a purpose far greater than you can imagine. My child, you are stepping into another phase of the journey, the phase of expansion. This is not the expansion of ambition or the ego seeking to claim territory, but the expansion of an inner space that has grown wide enough to hold my light, soft enough to receive my guidance, and steady enough to release what I have planted within you. This expansion does not happen through loud triumphs, but through quiet, persistent, refined movements like a calm lake whose ripples extend all the way to distant shores. When a soul matures, it does not only transform itself, it transforms those who enter its orbit. Your presence becomes an invitation for others to learn peace. Your stillness calms the panic in others. Your kindness opens cracks in hearts that have been hardened for years. The soft wisdom in your words becomes a lantern guiding others out of their dark corners. You become a reflection of what I am doing in the world, not by performing great feats, but by living in the depth of truth. Do not underestimate the influence of a refined soul. A small candle can illuminate a dark room. A gentle word can dissolve bitterness. A tender act can change the entire course of someone's heavy day. As you expand, what you carry is no longer a reaction to old wounds, but a reflection of healing. You no longer speak to protect yourself, you speak to build. You no longer act to be seen, you act to release life. You no longer love out of fear of losing, you love because your heart overflows. Expansion is you operating from your true depth, and when you enter that space, you will find that many things that once frightened you are now nothing more than old traces without power. You will find you no longer react drastically to others' changes, for your heart understands that everyone moves at their own rhythm. You will no longer compare, envy, or feel threatened by others' success, for your soul knows that light does not compete. Light expands when it is given room to shine. Remember, true expansion begins when you realize you do not need to strive to become anything. You are invited to become yourself. A soul that is allowed to be itself is a powerful soul, for it is no longer fragmented by the masks life forces many to wear. When you live truthfully, the energy of that truth touches others naturally, without effort, without explanation. People feel that authenticity, and in it they find an invitation to return to their own true essence. My child, do not be surprised if, in this season, you begin to feel a shift in the relationships around you. Some will draw closer because they find safety in you. Others will step back, not because they lack love, but because the light within you exposes what they are not yet ready to face. Do not be saddened by this. The souls meant to journey with you will remain beside you in the most natural way, and those who step away are not losses. They simply return the space so that those who truly belong to you may enter. In this moment, I want you to learn an important lesson. Expansion cannot take place if you continue holding on to old burdens. expectations laid upon your shoulders by family, by society, or by the version of yourself you once were, standards that caused you to forget the voice deep within, images you tried to maintain to please others. All these things are like stones tied to the tail of a kite that longs to rise. Expansion requires lightness, and lightness is not weakness, it is freedom from what weighs down the soul. When you release what no longer belongs to you, you will be surprised at how lightly you begin to walk, as though an invisible force were lifting you upward. This lightness does not come from a perfect environment, but from a soul no longer dragged down by what constricts it. That is when you begin to experience the freedom I desire for you, freedom to live, to create, to love, to rise without fear, my child. Expansion is also the first step through which you begin to resonate clearly with divine intention. When you dwell in the frequency of truth, you will notice that the right doors open without your knocking. The right opportunities appear without your striving, and the right people enter your life without invitation. When you live in such harmony, everything moves like water, finding its riverbed unhurried, unforced, yet unstoppable. I want you to become one who carries light into darkness, stillness into chaos, hope into desolation, and truth into illusions, not through the shout of force, but through the gentle breath of presence. In this season, you do not merely walk in the light, you become light. You do not only receive guidance, you become a bearer of guidance. You do not simply search for peace, you become a sower of peace. This is not a role you choose for yourself, it is a natural expression of a soul reaching its maturity. A lamp does not strive to shine, it shines because its nature is light. And, my child, so does your soul. You will begin to feel a deep transformation in the way you appear in the world. Things that once made you tense now become mere signals inviting you back to inner stillness. Conversations that once drained you now open opportunities for you to use the gentle wisdom I have planted within you. Unexpected situations no longer frighten you, for you no longer see them as threats, but as doors inviting you to practice the peace you have learned. This is when you know you are maturing not only in understanding, but in essence, my child. You must understand that maturity is not you becoming something new, but you removing what is not you. No one learns to become light, they only learn to set down the veils that cover it. You have carried this light within you all along, but wounds, fears, doubts, and the words you once spoke over yourself have concealed it. As I lead you through seasons of refinement and healing, I am not creating new light, I am simply blowing the dust away. When you feel yourself opening, it is because the old layers no longer have the power to keep you small. And when your true essence emerges, the world around you begins to respond in an entirely different way. Relationships that no longer resonate fall away gently, like leaves completing their cycle. Connections that match your frequency find their way to you without effort. Those seeking peace naturally gravitate toward you because they sense something within you they have not yet named. Not because you do anything special, but because your soul has become a place where others feel safe to approach. They recognize in you what they long to rediscover within themselves, a presence, soft yet steady, a silence full of meaning, a stillness overflowing with life. You will realize that you can no longer remain long in shallow conversations, not out of pride, but because your soul has acclimated to deeper frequencies. You can no longer stay in environments filled with judgment, competition, or the noise of fear, because these energies no longer align with the stability you are cultivating within. You will find yourself naturally drawn to places of authenticity, to people capable of openness, to moments of peace, and to spaces where you can breathe with your whole soul. Do not think this change makes you distant from the world. On the contrary, it allows you to be present in the world in a completely different way. You no longer walk into life with a defensive posture, but with an open one. You no longer strive to prove your worth. You simply show up and allow what I have planted in you to flow. You no longer force yourself into the molds others place upon you. You simply live your true essence. And that becomes the most powerful testimony of my love. I know that for much of your life, you believed that to be loved, you had to do more, try harder, sacrifice more, or shape yourself into what others found comfortable. But now, as expansion touches your soul, you will realize that true love does not come through effort, it comes through authenticity. When you live truthfully, the right people recognize you even when you are not trying. You no longer need to hold on to anyone. Those meant to stay will stay. You no longer need to prop anything up. What is meant to stand will stand. With this unveiling comes a sacred awareness that you are called not merely to live, but to lead. Not leadership through command or force, but through presence. The presence of a healed soul carries more power than 1,000 speeches. A single look of understanding can dissolve years of hardness. A gentle word can open a new pathway in another's mind. A peaceful silence can soften a storming heart. This world does not lack noise, it lacks souls who know how to be silent at the right time. It does not lack voices, it lacks voices that speak from truth. It does not lack outer strength, it lacks those whose strength flows from within. When you walk in the maturity of your true being, you will see that what I have done within you now begins to flow outward and touch others. You become a small spring where the weary find refreshment. You become a refuge for wandering hearts. You become an anchor for souls who are unsteady, not because you carry answers, but because you carry presence. Not because you possess extraordinary strength, but because the peace within you is no longer shaken by the changes of life. My beloved child, when the soul has passed through seasons of healing and expansion, when the ashes no longer define how you see yourself, a holy thing begins to happen. The deepest essence I placed within you from the beginning begins to rise like a strong sprout, pushing through after a long winter. This is not merely a transformation to help you feel more at peace. It is preparation for a role you never dared to imagine for yourself, the role of a soul sent into the world as a torch, shining in a way that is unique, irreplaceable, and impossible to replicate by anyone else. You once believed that a mission was a task, a specific responsibility, or a fixed function in life. But the true mission is not something given from the outside, it is something awakened from within. Mission does not come from a title, nor is it contained in social roles, nor does it depend on how others perceive you. It rises from the deepest place in the soul, where my intention has been inscribed like a sacred signature upon your being. When that place awakens, your entire life begins to move to a new rhythm. You no longer live from fear, nor do you chase recognition. You live according to the gentle, steady pull of an inner calling. That calling is not the roar of a volcano, but the warm breath lifting your mind each morning. It does not create panic. It invites you forward. It does not demand that you hurry to prove anything. It leads you day by day in a quiet strength that makes you aware that you are not merely living, but being led. This is what many throughout history experienced in different ways. Abraham walking without knowing the destination. Moses standing before the sea before seeing the path. David facing the giant without knowing where victory would come from. Their mission did not arrive as a perfect plan. It came as a whisper quieter than all noise, yet stronger than all fear. And, my child, that is what is happening to you. You will see everything in your life fall into a new order. What no longer fits will dissolve. What is right for you will arrive gently, like a breeze announcing the change of season. Chaotic relationships will fall away, leaving space for mature connections to appear. Ideas that once confused you will become flowing streams of clarity. Insight will come not through strain but through sudden knowing, like light entering a dark room. When the soul matures, you will understand that mission is not something to complete, but something that flows from within, like a stream. It does not try to flow. It flows because its nature is water. And so it is with you. When you are shaped by truth, when your heart is softened by seasons of waiting and encounters with your own depths, you cannot help but pour out what you have received. You become a presence that brings peace simply by being there, not by trying to create peace. You become a living reminder that love is stronger than fear, compassion greater than judgment, and perseverance powerful enough to overcome even the darkest circumstances. True mission does not pressure you to do more. It leads you to be more present. When you are deeply present, every word you speak carries the weight of authenticity. Every action you take touches the deepest places in others. Every moment of listening becomes a mirror, reflecting the gentleness I am cultivating in you. When you stand in that steady place, you do not need to speak loudly or prove yourself. You simply live. And your life itself becomes an invitation for other souls to awaken. I know there are moments when you wonder whether you are enough to carry such a mission. Moments when you feel small, afraid that you are not strong enough, not holy enough, not worthy enough. But, my child, mission is not chosen based on perfection. It is chosen based on willingness. The one willing to be healed will be prepared. The one willing to love more deeply will be expanded. The one willing to walk even while trembling will be supported. Every person I have called throughout history was imperfect. Moses trembled when speaking. Gideon doubted. Jeremiah felt too young. Peter stumbled, yet they all shared one thing: they were willing to be shaped by my purpose. My child, you do not walk alone, and you have never walked alone. I walk with you in every breath. My arm covered you even when you did not recognize it. As you enter the deeper stage of the journey, I will bring people whose direction aligns with yours, people whose souls recognize the light in you and walk with you in a unity that is gentle yet powerful. You are not building anything by your own strength. You are part of a greater current, a work far beyond your understanding. Your mission is not to change the world with thunder, but to change souls with a gentle, unquenchable light. You do not need to think you must do something extraordinary, for in the kingdom of the sacred, the extraordinary is found in the things done with authenticity. A timely act of forgiveness can redirect a life. A single act of kindness can be the seed of healing for an entire family. A quiet moment of patience can be a refuge for a troubled heart. A sincere embrace can be the answer to someone's silent prayer. Remember, mission is not found in glory, but in devotion, not in brilliance, but in the endurance of the heart, not in the eyes of the crowd, but in the eyes of one person who needs to be seen, not in praise, but in quiet faithfulness, not in grand acts, but in every seed of love planted through the years. And when you live this way, you do not merely fulfill the mission, you become the mission. The road ahead does not ask you to become someone else. It only asks you to return wholly to yourself, to the soul into which I have placed a story. When you walk forward, I will walk before you. When you pause, I will hold peace around you. When your heart grows weak, I will lift you up. You cannot lose your mission, for it is not outside of you, it is within you, and no hand is strong enough to take away what I have written into your very being. My child, your soul has passed through seasons of quiet yet powerful transformation. The cracks within you are no longer marks of damage, but openings through which grace seeps in. A new stage begins to unfold like a sunrise, slow, gentle, and unstoppable. This is no longer merely a journey of healing or seeking. This is the journey of union between what you desire and what I have ordained, between the rhythm of your heart and the rhythm of eternity, between your steps and the path I prepared before you ever learned to name your dreams. This stage does not sound trumpets, nor does it shine with the brilliance your imagination once pictured, but it is more tender than every definition you had for peace. It feels like the sudden realization that you no longer need to find me, because every breath you inhale bears witness that I am here. In this deeper layer, you will sense something unusual. You are no longer driven by the urgency of fear, nor pulled by the need to prove anything. Instead, you are guided by a stillness more powerful than any explanation. This stillness is not an empty space. It is the environment in which my movements become clearer. When you enter this stillness, you do not feel stopped. You feel held. Held to listen. Held to perceive. Held to align. Held to recognize that you no longer need to grip life with trembling hands. For I have already gathered everything that belongs to you into the palm of my hand. You will slowly see that the concept of waiting no longer carries the pain it once did. In the past, when you were still wrapped in wounds, waiting made you fear you were unworthy or forgotten. But now, waiting feels like the quiet earth before a seed pushes through it, like the calm sea before a radiant dawn. Waiting in this season is not a sign of delay, but a sign that I am working on things too great for you to see all at once. And your soul, softened by previous seasons, now has the capacity to recognize this without panic. This is the sign of sacred maturity. You no longer need to know everything, but you know that I am doing everything. As union begins to form, you will see that things once appearing random now weave together with precision too perfect to be coincidence. A chance encounter, a timely word, a door opened without your knocking, an idea that arrives in silence, a small sign that lights up the entire inner room of your soul. These are not coincidences, they are my whispers, threading the strands of your life with delicate intention. Just as Ruth found Boaz's field in the exact season of harvest, just as Esther stood in the right place to save her people, just as Joseph stood before the throne at the very moment famine struck, every step you thought accidental was guided by a hand that never trembles. You will realize you no longer need to force things into your own design. You no longer need to bend life to your will, because you understand that when your soul aligns with me, what is meant for you arrives in perfect timing. Like water finding its way to the sea, you will find yourself letting go of unnecessary struggles, releasing what no longer belongs to you, and shedding the nameless worries that once stole your sleep, not because you have become indifferent, but because you have learned the rhythm of heaven, a rhythm that says, let go of what you cannot carry, and keep only what nourishes your soul. And the most wondrous part is this: when you release what you once clutched too tightly, you begin to see my hand more clearly. When you stop trying to control everything, you recognize that my guidance was always there. You were simply too occupied to notice. When you allow yourself to walk lightly, life no longer presses on your shoulders as it once did. This is union, not me pulling you into some unfamiliar place, but me renewing the way you see the world. so you can live within it with an expanded mind and a sharpened spiritual sight. My child, in this season you will begin to see clearly that everything unfolding in your life is no longer centered solely around your benefit. My movements within you now affect many people, many circumstances, many stories I am weaving simultaneously. You will see that even your quietest prayers can become the breeze that redirects another soul. A single decision of yours can open a path for someone longing for light. A small step you take can create change within a greater stream. You will recognize that you have become part of a divine symphony, and your gentle rhythm contributes to the balance of a larger composition I am conducting. This is why I led you through past seasons of refinement, not to make you strong in the way the world expects, but to make you sensitive enough to avoid disrupting my subtle movements. A mature soul is one that knows when to act, when to wait, when to release, and when to hold. A mature soul is not shaken by noise, not disturbed by fleeting emotions, not deceived by glamorous appearances. They stand in the world like a pillar of light, not because they are perfect, but because they abide in me, my beloved child. You no longer see life as a chain of isolated events, but as a tapestry woven by a patient craftsman. The tears you once shed are no longer signs of failure, but drops of water softening the soil for your seed to grow. The times you fell are no longer sources of shame, but markers showing where you learned to stand firm. The prayers that were not answered in the way you expected now reveal that I was protecting you from what you did not know would harm you. And in the end, you will begin to see your life through the eyes of one who stands in the light, no longer through the eyes of someone searching for an escape in the night. You will realize that I am not only beside you, I am within you. Not only guiding you, I am guiding through you. Not only keeping you, I am making you a place of peace where others may find me. You will sense that peace is no longer something you seek, but something that begins to flow out from your very being. This peace is not the brief quiet you once tried to hold on to by avoiding turbulence. It is a silent yet powerful current moving through every breath, every decision, every relationship, so that your inner world is no longer shaken by sudden waves. This is the peace Jesus spoke of, not the peace the world gives, but the peace that surpasses all understanding, the peace untouched even by storms. When you stand in this peace, everything that comes toward you no longer floods you. It touches the surface and dissolves like foam under the morning sun. In this season, the things that once confused you fade like distant echoes. You are no longer strangled by fear of the future, for your heart has learned that the future is not held by the world but by me. You no longer fear losing what is precious, for you know that what truly belongs to your soul cannot be stolen, destroyed, or forgotten. You no longer fear losing your way, for you recognize that even when you cannot see the path, I am still keeping your feet on solid ground. The trembling before big changes gradually fades, replaced by a gentle trust enough for you to take each step without rushing, without hesitation, without fear. When peace takes root in your soul, you will realize you no longer need to struggle for validation. The needs that once stretched you thin, the need for recognition, for approval, for fear of abandonment, melt away like mist in the morning light. Your inner world opens like the sky, and in that spaciousness you understand you no longer need to shrink or exaggerate any part of yourself to be loved. You no longer need to become a version that pleases others. You only need to become the truest version I created. And when you live in that truth, the right people recognize you and come to you like birds, finding their way back to their own home. You will begin to see that compassion grows within you not by effort, but by the unveiling of what I already planted, like an underground stream that suddenly finds an opening. You no longer react impulsively to wounds others cause, for you recognize their pain is often an unconscious cry for help. You no longer look at difficult people with defensiveness, but with understanding that they carry unhealed wounds. You are no longer drawn into useless arguments, for you know that the voice of peace is always stronger than the shout of anger. You become a place where others can pause, breathe, and feel unjudged, and in that presence, they begin to heal in ways they never expected. My beloved child, when your soul moves in mature peace, you no longer feel overwhelmed by important decisions. You no longer choose based on fear of loss, but on the harmony between the truth within and the gentle guidance I place in your heart. What does not belong to you becomes obvious without long analysis. What must remain shines in your intuition like a small flame that cannot be mistaken. You will know when to pause, when to move, when to step back for clarity, and when to walk forward, even when you see nothing but mist. This clarity does not come from the mind, but from the union between your soul and the call of heaven. In this stage, you will sense that I am not only guiding you from the outside, but moving from within to shape your direction. You no longer need to beg anxiously for guidance, for guidance becomes the reality of every moment. You no longer strain to look for signs, for everything around you can become a sign when your heart is aligned to the right frequency. A quiet stirring inside, a gentle thought, a stray sentence, a fleeting dream, all may become places where I whisper to you. This is not imagination. This is the sensitivity of a soul refined by my hand. All who enter union become delicate in their awareness of the holy. Mature peace is not the silence of emotion, but the consistency of the soul. Your emotions are not suppressed, they are renewed, so they no longer pull you away from yourself. Joy no longer becomes noise. Sorrow no longer becomes despair. Anger no longer becomes destruction. Every emotion passes through you like a breeze, not to topple you, but to remind you that you are alive, feeling, and opening yourself to the world in the fullest way. A healthy soul is not one that no longer feels pain, but one that knows pain cannot destroy who it truly is. You no longer chase purpose. Purpose begins to flow through you. What you do no longer bears the mark of striving, but of harmony. The people you meet no longer appear by accident, but as pieces of a larger picture coming into view. The situations you encounter are not tests designed to break you, but openings into parts of yourself you have not yet discovered. Purpose never demands that you exceed your ability. It simply invites you to show up with truth, steadiness, and willingness. This is the stage in which you begin to create a depth of influence you yourself may not even realize. A gentle word from you can calm an entire day of chaos for someone. A decision made from love can save a heart on the verge of breaking. Your peaceful presence can become the place where another finds the breath of rest. You become the doorway through which I touch the world. No glamour needed, no noise needed, no display needed. Just be yourself, the version I have refined through every season. When you live in this union, you will see that everything has a rhythm. A time to open, a time to close, a time to hold still, a time to move forward, a time to sow, a time to reap, a time to stand, a time to cross through. You no longer panic when seasons change, for you know that every season is necessary. Your soul becomes as vast as the sea, and even when the waves rise, you still know that beneath them lies a depth that never stirs. And within all these things, there is an undeniable truth: I am here. Not through dazzling signs, not through radiant wonders, but through the deep stillness within you, a stillness nothing can take away. When you stand in that stillness, you know you cannot be lost, cannot fail, cannot be abandoned. You are in me, and I am in you, my child. As you come to the deepest part of this journey, the inner silence is no longer emptiness, but the sacred place where you and I meet without words. This is a silence that does not evoke fear, but opens like a doorway into a tenderness beyond imagination. In this silence, you do not simply hear me, you perceive me with your whole being. There is no longer separation between what you long for and what I am doing, between your desires and my purpose, between your questions and my answers. Everything blends like ripples, merging without boundaries. This union is not an ending point, but the space in which you finally understand that every step from here carries the imprint of an invisible yet unwavering guidance. This journey was never meant to lead you to a title or position. It was meant to bring you back to the sacred essence I placed in you at the dawn of creation. You were made not from accident, but from intention, an intention full of love. And in this fullness, you begin to live from that essence, not from fear or striving, but from the profound awareness that you belong to me. When you belong to me, everything becomes clear. You understand that no time was wasted, no tears were useless, no mistake beyond grace, no detour outside my direction. All things were used to bring you to the place where light can pass through your soul with the greatest purity. And when fullness touches you, you will feel something miraculous. You no longer merely hope for miracles, you become one, not by outward brilliance that draws attention, but by the quiet presence that helps someone feel understood, by the gentleness that softens hearts hardened by pain, by the patience that breathes hope back into those losing faith. You become a living witness of the unchanging love, the love that kept you when you did not see it, called your name when you were lost on distant paths, and held you when you believed you were unworthy. My beloved child, wholeness does not come when life has no storms, but when you understand that storms cannot touch the deepest part of your soul. You have learned to stand not by your own strength, but by anchoring yourself in me. You have learned to love not because others are always kind, but because the love within you is no longer conditional. You have learned to forgive not because the offense grew smaller, but because your heart grew too mature to carry chains from the past. You have learned to let go not because you stopped caring, but because you understand that only what is enduring can remain with you. And you have learned to wait not because you became accustomed to suffering, but because you now see the beauty of perfect timing. The fullness of the soul is not a destination, it is the state in which you live without fragmentation. The parts you once hid out of shame, the parts you once concealed out of fear of being hurt, the parts you once denied because you felt unworthy, I gather them all and place them in my loving hand. In my hand. They are no longer burdens but unique patterns, forming the wholeness of who you are. When you see yourself as whole, you no longer seek approval from the outside, no longer live by reaction, no longer chase what fades easily, but live from a depth no one can take from you. You become a bearer of light not because you strive to shine, but because the light has always lived within you and is now no longer hindered. My child, this fullness also brings you to an important realization. You are not meant to move forward by strained steps. I will never lead you to a place beyond what your soul can bear. Every step you take is weighed by me, like a gardener who knows when to prune and when to let the tree rest, when to let the wind touch the branches, and when to cover the roots for recovery. I do not love you based on achievement, I love you based on being. And in that love, you will experience something the world can never give: absolute safety. Not safety because there are no trials, but safety because no trial can separate you from me. When you stand in fullness, you will recognize that the loneliness of the past has become the place where I met you. The pain that once brought you to your knees has become the place where you realized I am closest when you are weakest. The long waiting that once felt endless becomes the proof that what you asked for has been prepared with great care. What you thought you had lost was never lost, it was being kept for the right moment. The stories you thought were out of rhythm now blend together in perfect harmony. You look back and understand that no moment slipped from my hand, and no detour was without purpose. My child, when your heart has learned this truth, you will live with a freedom no one can take from you. Freedom to love without the fear of losing. Freedom to hope without the fear of disappointment. Freedom to walk forward without being bound by your past. Freedom to be gentle with yourself and with others. Freedom to welcome what is new without fearing betrayal. Freedom to say yes when you know it is right, and no when it does not nourish your soul. Freedom to stand alone without feeling lost, and freedom to blend into community without losing your identity. This freedom comes from knowing with absolute certainty that I will never leave you. And here is the final gift I want to place within your soul. You are not only stepping into the future, you are stepping into revelation. Every season ahead is not a test to measure your strength, but an unveiling of what I have been shaping within you throughout this long journey. You will step into days that open like wide doors, where the things you sowed in tears will bloom in joy. You will meet people for whom your very presence becomes the answer to their silent prayers. You will stand in places you once believed you were unworthy to stand, because you will stand not through your ability, but through grace. My beloved child, go forward not with fear, but with deep stillness, not with confusion, but with the awareness that I go before you, not with worry, but with the trust that you are upheld in every step, not with emptiness, but with the fullness of a love that never changes. You do not walk alone. You have never walked alone, and you will never walk alone in any season ahead. I am within you as breath in your chest, as life in every cell, as light that never leaves the morning. Walk, and know that heaven walks with you. Live, and know that you are my answer to the world. Love, and know that my love flows through you like a river that never runs dry. And remember this, the truth that will accompany you through every season: you are in me, and I am in you. Nothing can change that reality. Thank you for listening to today's message. Remember to subscribe and activate the notification bell so that together we may continue receiving the living word, building unwavering faith, and walking in the boundless love of the Lord. Amen.